Welcome, friends. It's time to elevate and thrive. And if you've ever wondered about vitamins, like, should I be taking them? What are the best vitamins? What's a waste of time? What should I stay away from? Then this is the episode for you. We have a full cast here. Welcome, everyone.
Hello, Barry.
Yeah, we have Dr. Julian, Dr. Samantha, and Dr. Angela in the house today.
We are full yes. house today, doctors.
So let's kick this thing off with the question of, should I even take vitamins? Are they a waste of money?
I would answer that question with no, just a blanket no. I'm pretty sure my colleagues would feel the same, but I think that we have to qualify that with quality. I think we could argue that there are types of vitamins actually that could be a waste of money, like the generics. I'm going to call a couple brands out, maybe say a Kirkland brand vitamin or a Centrum One Daily, something like that. I would consider that kind of a waste of your money.
I think you have to be careful because the FDA doesn't regulate supplements as well as they regulate medications. And so when we think of quality, you don't know what is being placed in some of these supplements. And the ones that we recommend are usually reputable companies. And also there's certain things that are in vitamins. So for instance, a multivitamin like the Centrum One or the Kirkland brand that might have a non-methylated form of folic acid, which I wouldn't ever recommend to anyone, or an inactive form of B12. Yeah.
I definitely agree with all that. There's a time and a place for all supplements. Multivitamins are probably one thing that you do want to continually have, and they do need to be reputable companies. So third-party testing and other processes that supplement companies have to go through, they should have all of those markers met so that you are getting quality, and you're also potentially mitigating things like binders and fillers, which some people can have a really hard time with. So yeah, definitely good multi.
So we're saying thumbs up, but depends on quality.
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely.
Definitely.
And then what about multivitamins? So because my great gramps, he lived to 94, every day took a daily multivitamin, swore that it was his secret to longevity. And he was a stallion. I mean, he all the way up to the end. He was driving, lucid, full head of hair.
That
and I was like, this is the guy I want to be when I grow up.
That was my grandmother, too. Lived to 93, and she was a vitamin junkie in the sense like every day, multivitamin, vitamin E, and there was one more, vitamin C. I think those were the three that she had.
Yeah, he was a big believer in the multivitamin.
Yeah.
So do you guys feel like that's a baseline for a lot of people?
I'm echoing what Dr. Julianne said, right? Making sure you have the proper forms of the vitamin in there. The vitamins, B vitamins specifically, is really important. I think the American diet, just because of where our food is coming from and how it is mass produced, and sometimes the ground is overworked, there are nutrient deficiencies even in our food. So this is where a multivitamin kind of comes in and bridges that gap between your diet and your body actually needs to have a healthy cellular process happening. So I'm a big fan of multivitamins. Again, quality is really important with that, though.
Yeah, I would agree. I think it can be a good baseline, especially if you, I don't know, I do struggle a little bit. I don't know that every single person needs to be on a multivitamin, and it probably depends on just everything else they're taking and what they're doing with their lives. Do they have a lot of activity? Or they exercise heavy? You know, what is like, is it really organic and whole foods? And so maybe they don't necessarily need it, but we focus on other things. So for me, I feel like it is a little bit of a person by person basis.
That's also where nutrient testing can come in, though. So you can be more specific with, oh, I'm deficient in choline. Okay, let's address that from a dietary perspective. And then if we need to, we can bring in a vitamin.
I'm not a huge fan of multivitamins, to be honest, mostly just because I struggle, because I do get it. Our soil is not very rich in the minerals that it should have anymore. And so even if you have a really good diet, some people are still deficient in certain things like iodine. Almost everyone is. And so I totally, when a multivitamin is helpful. However, this is the thing that I have an issue with. I'm a big data nerd, so I want to see what you're deficient in, and I want to push the biochemical pathways that I need to because of those deficiencies, because of inefficiencies in certain biochemical pathways. But also, a lot of people think, I'm going to take this multivitamin and I'm not going to eat well and I'm not going to work out. And so this is the thing. When I meet with patients, I tell them, you got to sleep well, you got to work on your stress, you got to eat a whole foods diet, an anti-inflammatory diet, and you got to pick up some heavy weights. And no multivitamin is going to replace that. So
you can't out-supplement a bad diet and lifestyle.
Yeah.
I think that's a big thing.
I think so too. It's a little bit maybe as like a lazy person's like shortcut to health. And unfortunately, like in so many ways, there is no shortcut to health. All right. So, multivitamin, maybe not. What about if for the ladies out there? I know that there's such a broad range of different vitamins, and we're not even getting like some of the herbs and other stuff that we might recommend women take. But are there, for women specifically, just in general, some suggestions that we typically have?
I would come back to, I think we all are fans of methylation support. And I feel it is definitely important for men, but I feel like women specifically, especially because of the association between really healthy, good functioning methylation, which is also, we could say, activation of your certain vitamins or detoxification, highly correlated with your ability to regulate your hormones. And for women, we have a lot of that fluctuation monthly, right? And men, not so much. Definitely important for them for different reasons. But I would say for women, that's probably the top. And so we're looking at like the methylated vitamins. So your methylated B12s, your methylfolate, and then all of the activated Bs that support that. So that would probably be one of my number one for women, for sure.
I focus mostly on hormones and those certain pathways. So first thing that comes to mind right away is just making sure that the liver is processing those hormones out efficiently. Because if the liver can't do anything, then those B vitamins can't do their thing either, because they're processed through the liver. So making sure that liver is supported with a little extra calcium D-glucarate.
And one thing I would just note, just for people that maybe that they would be cautious with, is that calcium D-glucarate tends to minimize excessive hormone. Of course, help the liver, but if you're already low, if you're menopausal, perimenopausal, it might make you feel worse. So just to note that.
Good job. Don't go overdosing yourself on calcium D-glucarate.
All these are just general thoughts, and obviously it's to be stated that we're giant fans of personalized medicine here, right?
Absolutely.
So you hear something here or somewhere else, you're listening to Mark Hyman or somebody else on the internet spouting off about some great benefit of something, it might be poisonous for you.
Absolutely.
Don't blindly consume information.
It could be.
Get a personalized plan.
It could be.
I wouldn't say that there's a difference for me at least, when I treat men and women, just because I'm testing the same things, and men have the same hormones, and we are all and in this day and age, all of us are exposed to regardless of your gender, we're all exposed to environmental toxins, and it's crazy now. It's really crazy. And men have hormone issues, and a lot of men suffer with low T, and
huge.
So I wouldn't say there really is any difference between what I'm recommending to a man and a woman. I would say they're about the same. And again, I still tell them lifestyle stuff matters.
Yeah. And I could definitely see that, like if our basic recommendations would be very similar for a man and a woman. But yeah, of course, I think it just comes back to individualized approaches, right? Because not everybody is going to be completely hormonally imbalanced, right? Some people, it's energy specifically, or they feel great and they just want to continue to feel great. Yeah, I do think do we have a top recommendation for every single person? And it's like, it really, that doesn't, as you said, it doesn't really exist. It's very individualized.
And also you have to think, I think people get obsessed with taking B vitamins, but there is such thing as over methylating and over detoxing. Yes. And some people feel really crappy when they have been on certain B vitamins for a really long time. And I'm sure we're going to get into this, but that's why having individualistic care is important, but also checking in with your provider, because sometimes you just don't need to take these things for very long.
Yeah, I feel like that's such a great point. How often do we see people that bring in literally bags worth of supplements, right?
Yeah.
Like they've just been to a grocery store and you're like, what? Wow, what is that? This is my morning regimen, this giant bag. And what I find interesting is that, because obviously we're not talking about herbs today, but what's interesting to me is that you can have a giant bag of supplements and nothing really is overlapping. To me, I do find that pretty incredible. And sometimes you look at all of that and go, literally every single thing is different in here, and it's in higher selenium, it's a higher vitamin E. We're getting some whatever. There's your multivitamin, there's your NAC, and sometimes you can actually be taking quite a bit, I feel like, for a short period of time for certain reasons, and it's okay.
Oh, absolutely. When you're going through a detox specific, you are going to want to be heavy on certain things, but that's only for a certain period of time. Julianne was saying, after that window of time, don't take those anymore because you don't need to.
Cycle.
So I think part of the good point you're bringing up here, and Julianne, that you're bringing up, is that sometimes we're looking at vitamins and supplements as a specific tool we're using as a treatment therapy, that we might have higher dose or very specific dose, tailored dose, that we're looking to create a specific effect or change a specific condition in the body. And that can be very different than, say, a maintenance approach that you might be taking with your vitamins and with your supplements. That could look very different. In that, again, if it's a approach you're taking, or if it's randomized, or it's you read a bunch of different articles. For instance, today a friend of mine just sent over that screen time could be shrinking our brains, and that the answer to that was combing vitamin D with some other supplement that they were recommending. So that's again, it's very easy to consume information these days and then start thinking like, oh, I need to take vitamin D with this BDNF stuff and something else because my brain's shrinking because of screen time. And then the next thing you have 57 vitamins that you're taking every day. And if you're doing that, I would say just get the IV nutrient therapy because it's probably cheaper and it's better.
You're actually absorbing it when you get an IV versus taking it orally.
Yeah, love it. Yeah, that's, I guess, the other thing we didn't really talk about is that when you're taking all these oral supplements, a lot of people, especially as we age, we make less hydrochloric acid. And a lot of people, again, because of those environmental chemicals, have gut disruption and so aren't absorbing. So many reasons not to absorb your vitamins very well. Yes, especially if we're really, I think, wanting to be more aggressive in optimizing somebody or even treating something very significant like a mold toxicity or fibromyalgia or any of those other or bigger chronic illnesses. Like IV is definitely the way to go.
So, Julianne, is just part of, because you brought this up a couple times in your treatment protocol, is part of what that you do to build that personalized plan just a baseline testing, or do you have some specific tests that you like to run just initially to understand what are the deficiencies a person might be suffering from?
Yeah. I think all of us have our own things that we look at, but the first time I meet with someone, you want to take really good history, right? So you're going to ask, are you having muscle spasms? Are you having joint pain? Are you suffering with fatigue? Are your periods heavy? And obviously those are going to give you ideas of what you want to order. And then obviously from the results, that's what you want to supplement with. Given that though, I know who my sensitive patients are going to be, and most of them are going to be my chronic disease, mold toxicity. And so, talking about IV vitamins or IVs, I sometimes can't push my mold patients or my chronic disease patients that much. And I literally have to tell them to open up a supplement and do sprinkle doses. And that's all they can tolerate because they are that sensitive. Yeah. You just have to be really careful with, I think, dosing. And that's, I guess, our job.
Yeah, so that's a great question because I think sometimes people don't realize that it's easy to overdose. You can totally overdose on things, and then it's just based on your particular condition and where your body is at.
Yeah, I think we have to be clear that it's actually, when we talk about overdose, as an actual term, really difficult to overdose on a vitamin enough that lands you in an ER, like you can a medication. However, can you feel like crap? Absolutely. If you're pushing things that should not, or again, you're so toxic that movement, that methylation support or that liver support, something is just moving you too fast and it makes you feel horrible. It doesn't necessarily mean that you don't need some of that at that time. As Dr. Morello was saying, it could just be we really have to just so slowly, and you end up, a lot of times those people will come in and say, they'll tell you, I can't take anything. I take my multivitamin, it makes me sick. And you're like, oh, I'm starting to see this picture here. You're sensitive, you're overloaded. So we're going to go slow.
Yeah, my main takeaway from this conversation with the three of you is that at the end of the day, each of us are a beautiful, delicate snowflake. And it needs sweet, beautiful, tender, functional care in order to maximize our health. And if you're doing it alone, it's harder than it needs to be.
Agreed. Yeah, that's where we encourage it. If you're listening to this, you need to come in. Yeah. If you haven't been in already, then you should definitely come in.
Here's the other thing, though, is then you get to the end of your treatment plan with your patients, and they ask me all the time, do I still need to take this? And I always tell them, this is the first time I start working with them, and I say, look, the goal is not that you are on these vitamins forever. The goal is the next few months, you and I are going to work very closely, and we're going to meet regularly, and we're going to look at labs, and we're going to see how you're doing. But the is that I don't see you regularly, which means that you are not taking these supplements very often. There's certain things that I would say you just have to stay on. Vitamin D if you live in the Pacific Northwest, magnesium because it's the cofactor for many, like 300 different enzymatic pathways. There's certain things you're just going to stay on, but most of them, I'm really hoping that you're supporting your health through lifestyle is what I'm really hoping.
Yeah, what you're looking to do is essentially get a person's health and well-being and kind of get them to the spot where they're feeling like they're able to make some of these lifestyle shifts and make them permanently, so that it kind of generally raises their overall level of health. So some things that are maybe being used from a treatment methodology or from a very specific targeted can be cut off, and just maintenance stuff left in place.
Yeah, we want to empower our patients.
I love it. Thank you, everyone, for being here. Fascinating topic. Hope this sheds some light on it. This topic of should I be taking vitamins and supplements for people? The answer is probably. But what you should be taking is highly dependent on you and getting the right help. So thanks for being here, everyone, and we will catch you on the next show.
Bye.
Bye.